Hey everyone, buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into something that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi blockbuster, The Line.
Yeah, you know those headlines about a futuristic megacity being built in the middle of the Saudi Arabian desert?
The one designed to hold 9 million people.
That's the one. It's capturing imaginations worldwide.
Which makes sense. I mean, we're talking about a single mirrored skyscraper stretching across the desert.
It's an incredible feat, and the really wild part is that it's not some distant concept. They're actually building it right now.
So it's not just some, architect's pipe dream. This is really happening.
It's as real as it gets, and the scale of this thing is mind-boggling.
So we get it, it's big,
Mm.
but paint a picture for us. What are we really talking about in terms of size?
Okay, picture this. A structure so massive it stretches 170 kilometers. To put that into perspective, that's longer than a drive from New York City to Philadelphia.
That's a lot of skyscrapers.
It's an unprecedented amount of construction. And to pull it off, they're using a truly staggering amount of resources.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I've heard some chatter about the materials they're using, something about an almost unbelievable amount of steel being involved.
You heard right. We're talking about a project so resource intensive that it's currently consuming nearly 20% of the entire world's steel output.
Hold on, 20%? Are you serious? That's a fifth of all the steel on the planet. You know, it's like someone's playing a real-life game of SimCity, went a little crazy, and just cranked the steel production slider all the way up.
And with that much demand, it's no surprise that we're already seeing the line's impact on the global market.
I bet. What are we talking about here? Like steel prices going haywire.
That's just the start. We're also seeing issues with availability for other projects around the world. It really highlights how interconnected everything is on a global scale. One mega project in the desert, and suddenly the entire construction industry feels the ripple effect.
It's like the line isn't just trying to redefine what a city can be, it's single-handedly reshaping global markets.
And get this, to try and stay on top of this massive operation, they're constructing a dedicated concrete factory right in the middle of the desert.
Wow. Talk about commitment.
Yeah.
How much does a custom concrete factory in the desert even cost?
Oh, just a cool $186 million.
You're kidding me. That's more than some entire countries spend on their infrastructure in a year. It sounds like they're pulling out all the stops to make this vision a reality. But what's driving all of this? Why go through so much effort, spend so much money just to build a city in the desert?
Well, it all boils down to ambition, like really, really big ambition.
Bigger than a 170-kilometer skyscraper. Hard to
You
imagine.
got to think bigger. The line is just one piece of this puzzle.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Piece of what puzzle?
Saudi Arabia is calling it NEOM. It's this massive undertaking, this vision they have.
And how massive are we talking?
A $500 billion project? Massive.
$500 billion? Whoa. Okay, so what's the goal with NEOM? What are they trying to do?
They want to completely transform their country.
Transform it how?
Right now, they're known as the oil giant, right?
Makes sense. Oil-rich nation. Everybody knows them for it.
Well, they want to change that narrative. They want to be seen as a global leader in technology and innovation.
So moving away from fossil fuels, looking towards the future. But how does a gigantic city in the desert fit into all this?
That's where the line comes in. See, they're designing it with sustainability in mind.
Okay, I'm listening. How do you make a megacity in the desert sustainable?
Think about it. Zero carbon emissions, all powered by renewable energy. No cars, just walking and super fast trains.
So no more morning commute traffic jams. I could get used to that. But let's be real. How do you convince 9 million people to pack up and move to the desert, even if it is a high-tech oasis?
That's the million, or rather 9 million person questions. One of the biggest challenges facing the line. Can they actually create a thriving, living, breathing community in an environment that's so, well, unconventional?
Right. People need more than just shiny buildings and fast trains.
Yeah.
What about a sense of community? Parks, green spaces, places to just, hang out and be social.
They've thought about that, at least on paper. The line's designs show all sorts of shared green spaces, communal areas. They're really pushing this idea of a hyper-connected, super efficient way of urban living.
It's almost like a giant social experiment.
Yeah, in a way it is, but some critics aren't so optimistic. They're worried about potential downsides. Things like people feeling isolated, a lack of privacy, the challenges of replicating that real city vibe.
I get it. A city, even a futuristic one, needs a soul. And what about the environmental impact of all of this? I mean, we
Yeah.
talked about the steel, but building anything on that scale in the middle of the desert can't be eco-friendly, can it?
You're hitting a nerve there. That's the irony, right? They're aiming for the zero carbon footprint inside the line. But the construction process itself, whole different story. We're talking about a massive amount of concrete, steel, and who knows what else, all of which needs to be extracted, transported. That leaves a heavy environmental footprint. And then there's the impact on the existing desert ecosystem.
So it's a trade-off, a gamble.
Yeah.
They're betting that this vision of a green future will ultimately outweigh the environmental costs of actually building it. Are there any other projects anywhere in the world that are even remotely comparable to this? Something we can look to as an example, maybe get a sense of how this might play out.
Yeah, are there any projects we can compare this to? I mean, building a city from scratch in the desert, it's pretty ambitious.
It really is. I mean, there are some projects out there that tried to push the boundaries of sustainable urban development.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Well, there's Masdar City. It's over in the UAE, and it was supposed to be this completely sustainable utopia.
Sounds promising. Did it work out?
It's been struggling, honestly. Like, they built it, but the residents haven't exactly flocked to live there. Interesting. Okay. Anything else?
And then there's China, right? They've been on this megacity building spree for a while now. But that's come with its own problems, environmental concerns, social challenges.
Right, building a city isn't just about the physical structures. It's about creating a place where people actually want to live and thrive.
Exactly. And that's what makes the lines so fascinating and a little bit scary.
How so?
It's like nothing we've ever seen before. It's this huge gamble, and nobody knows for sure how it's going to play out.
So let's say, hypothetically, that it doesn't work out. Let's say people just aren't interested in living in a giant desert skyscraper. What then?
That's the billion-dollar question, literally. This thing is a massive financial risk for Saudi Arabia.
And not just financial, right? There's a lot of their reputation riding on this, too.
For sure. If the line flops, it could have a ripple effect throughout their entire economy, not to mention impact how the rest of the world views them.
It's a good reminder that progress isn't always a straight line. Sometimes it comes with risks, and not every risk pays off.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The line really embodies that idea. It's like this giant question mark right there in the middle of the desert, reflecting all our hopes and fears about the future.
Yeah. And it's sparking a lot of debate and discussion, which is a good thing. We need to be talking about these things, considering the implications. I mean, what do you think? Are we looking at the future of cities here, or is this just a super ambitious experiment that might not pan out?
It's tough to say for sure, but I think one thing is clear. The questions the line is raising about how we live, how we build, how we plan for a sustainable future, those questions are going to be with us long after that last piece of steel's been put in place.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this such an interesting topic to dive into.
Yeah.
So, as we wrap things up here, we want to hear from you, our listeners. What do you think about the line? Is it a step in the right direction, or is it a step too far? Head over to our website or hit us up on social media and let us know your thoughts. And on that note, until next time, keep those questions coming, keep exploring those big ideas, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.